Hi guys, welcome to episode 5 of the Dirty Knitting Hippie podcast. My name is Kristen and I'm your host today. I am coming to you today from the San Francisco Bay Area, where I live with my husband, our 2 boys, and our dog Guinness the Wonder Lab. It is going to be very hot today. It was a very hot weekend, so I'm trying to do this early before it heats up. Before my kids are awake. It is currently, oh gosh, I'm looking at my laptop. It's 10 o'clock and my children are asleep on a school day. We homeschool, so we're just kind of getting back into our routine. So I'm letting them ease into it a little bit. They have some kind of meaty schedules this year. So yeah. Life of a homeschooler, right? You can find me on Instagram as Dirty Knitting Hippie. You can also find me on Ravelry as Tyler's Mom Chris, and this is episode 5. So welcome. If you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy spending some time with me today. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you for enduring. A little bit crazy sometimes, but thank you for coming back. It's been a long time. Yeah, definitely a long time. I didn't mean for there to be such a gap between my last podcast and this. I actually did film a podcast in July and lost it. I'll just give a tiny update now, and then at the end I'll give my long spiel update. But I had taken a weekend of me. Actually, it wasn't a weekend. It was a few days during the middle of the week by myself. My husband went camping. They do an annual Father's Day camping trip with just the dads, and that's kind of our gift to the dads, is go enjoy, have fun, fish, do whatever, and we'll see you in a few days. And this time, instead of staying home with the boys, a friend offered to take them. I'd kind of felt like I needed a break without people, and I needed to get away after having everybody up my hiney for a few months. Post-surgery. So I'd asked my PT once he cleared me to drive. We'd kind of talked about this for a few weeks, going back on, can I drive? How far can I drive? Can I drive in traffic? Can I, what does driving mean now? And my first question was, once he said I could drive, can I drive to Tahoe? And he kind of stopped for a moment and he said, driving to Tahoe is probably an easier drive than driving in Bay Area traffic. So, and then he said, I think a few days away might be good for your soul. So I took off to Squaw Valley and had a few days of just solitude amongst the trees and by myself, and just time to kind of settle back into real life, whatever that means for me right now. So it was amazing. I had horrible phone reception, which was even better. I did take some precautions. I stayed in the village, so it wasn't totally, remote. It was close enough that if I needed help with anything, I could get help. If it was close enough to food. I didn't have to do a ton of driving. In fact, I actually stayed in the condo a majority of the time and just sat on the balcony, knit, drank coffee, would take a drive here and there. No hiking, obviously, but it was nice. I enjoyed it. So I did take some time to record a podcast up there, and I came back and I lost it. Gone. So things got a little bit crazy around here in a way we didn't anticipate it. I actually ended up having another surgery a couple weeks ago. which was totally unforeseen. Um, so yeah, just back to recovery mode. And I'll talk about that at the end. Yeah. So you didn't come here to listen to my Tahoe adventures, but you did come here to talk about knitting. So we can do that. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I am going to launch in with a couple finished objects. I've been knitting, but I'm not feeling terribly prolific given some of the circumstances around here with surgery. I tend to not knit on pain meds. It's a bad idea. I don't know if I had shown this as a work in progress, but I finished my Pure Joy by Joji Locatelli, and this is, let's see, start here, and it's kind of a, I wonder if, I'll go in close because that's pretty good. And this is actually a sparkle yarn. It's got some stelina in it, but I'll kind of scroll along here and show it to you. And I will insert pictures that are a little bit more elegant than my Vanna White skills can show. Oh, there's an end I didn't cut off. But it is woven in. I hate weaving in ends, but I actually did it because I blocked these. But this yarn is actually yarn that I dyed myself. And this was the first time I have ever knit with anything I dyed. Dyeing is kind of a newer thing for me. And it was so much fun to see how these colors worked up. And I really enjoyed that process. So this white speckly yarn, let me see, that's pretty good. It's got a little bit of pink, some purple, some blues, and some like sandish color, like a taupe mixed in there. And then this purple actually shares the same purple and a little bit of the pink that is in the white. And it the white is just 100% merino. It's a superwash, and then this purple is has like blues and purples and same taupey color. Is actually 75% merino, 20% nylon, and 5% gold stelina. Oh, you can see a little bit of sparkle when I move it. Yeah. So so I really enjoyed not only the pattern, which was fun. This is my first Joji Locatelli pattern to knit up, and I enjoyed the pattern immensely. It was a really nice pattern to kind of take on the go, because it's not a lot of, you don't have to think a lot to knit this one. There is some short rows, so if you're a new knitter, that's a good skill to have. So this would be a really nice bridge project for someone who has, you know, basic skills down, and like knit and purl, although no, it was all knit. So knit, if you can knit. And then short rows. And one thing that I have mentioned before was when I was learning to knit, I chose patterns based on, number one, what I enjoyed. Knitting like hats or shawls or whatever. But the other thing was I always incorporated something I didn't know how to do. So that I would build my skill set, and this would be a really nice pattern for somebody wanting to kind of make that next step in expanding your skills. There are yarn overs and there are short rows. and joining a new color. So that's really kind of minimal in the new skill area. So that was really nice. I'm looking forward to wearing it. It's been hot here, but in the evenings it's cool. We live about a mile away from the water, and so we are just starting to get kind of those cool mornings where it's a little overcast here, but true to the Bay Area, drive a half mile and your weather changes. So I'm just starting to twitch to pull things out. I pulled a couple things out of my knitting bag the other day, and I started trying them on. It's like 100 degrees and I'm trying on knitwear. But I pulled something out to show someone at a knitting group. They wanted to try the Campside, and I had one, so I offered to bring it to knitting group. And so that kind of was like opening Pandora's box. I started trying on hats and shawls, and you know, I'm excited that it's almost time to pull out the fall knits. The other thing I finished was the Darkside Cowl, which is a really, it was a fun pattern. It was one that I could take to knitting easily. This one I could definitely take on the go, which was nice. I always try and have a project I can just throw in the car. I spend a lot of my time homeschooling waiting for my kids. They're in classes or whatever, or groups, and that means mom sits, because most of the Bay Area, we have the worst traffic in the nation, particularly in the area that we live, and so, you know, 15-20 mile drive is like an hour plus. I'm not going to drop them off and come home or go run errands usually. Excuse me, I have a hair in my mouth. So usually I just sit and knit, or if there's other moms I chat, I knit. So the Darkside Cowl is a free pattern by Sarah Fama. Let me pull that up because I don't want to butcher her name. It was Sarah Fama, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I knit this with Blue Sky Alpaca extra, and it was 55% baby alpaca, 45% fine merino. It was I'm gonna say a bulky yarn. It felt bulky, but I don't think it's chunky. So bulky. It was 218 yards in 150 grams, so it's a nice generous skein. And in the Carmine 3511 colorway. It's a gorgeous red, which is not showing up beautifully. Yeah, it's not that red. It's kind of like more like a kind of a maroonish red. I call it Stanford Red. It's the area I live in, and I will say that I love, the yarn is incredibly soft, but I don't think I like alpaca, or maybe I just don't like the alpaca I've used. I put it on after I blocked it and it dried, and it has what I call the hairs of death. They were digging into my neck, it felt like. It was so scratchy. So those little guard hairs are not my favorite. I don't think I could wear this with anything other than a turtleneck under it. It's not amazing next to my neck. I think this yarn would be better in maybe a hat, or maybe some gloves, or maybe I'm just really sensitive. I really struggle sensory-wise. I struggle with alpaca. The Campside shawl that I knit, oh, and you know what, actually I didn't tell you what size needles. I knit this on size, I went up a little bit. I went to an 8. It says to use a 7. So I used a size 8 because I think the yarn that I chose was a little bit bigger than, or thicker gauge than the pattern was written for. It was written for airline, and this is a bulky. So I went a little bit bigger. Yeah. So I highly recommend this pattern. It's just knitting and purling. There's no cabling. So the zigzag kind of step pattern is just achieved through knits and purls. So an excellent pattern for a new knitter. It was, let's see, knits and purls, and there's counting of those knits and purls, knitting in the round. Yeah, those are really the only skills you need. So if you're a new knitter and you already know how to knit and you know how to purl, keeping track of rows because it is a pattern, and it's a repeat. I think it was a 12 row repeat. It was, yeah, very basic skills. So I think it'd be excellent for a new knitter. So jump off with something like this. And it's you know, I use wool alpaca, but I could see this being a really nice charity knit because it does go fairly quickly. You know, you could use, if it's a charity knit, use acrylic. You could use wool. It doesn't have to be, you know, crazy expensive yarn. Charity knitting is usually fairly quickly knit up. So I think this was going to be something that was an instant gratification knit for me, and I kind of dragged on it a little bit. But it would be, you know, within a week you'd have a nice cowl to donate or gift. Excellent Christmas knitting. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this pattern. And it's nice and squishy. So, yeah. And right now, it smells like vinegar. I wasn't sure if this yarn would bleed. I've been burned by a commercial yarn, a very nice commercial yarn, actually. One time I was blocking something and it was like hemorrhaging color. So because I had that experience, I'm a little gun shy anytime I go near a red yarn or something that has like a red base. Reds and blues tend to bleed. So I add a ton of vinegar to my yarn. Not just indie dye, not just commercial, but any yarn that's red, unless it's acrylic. Acrylic doesn't seem to bleed. But any sort of other yarn gets the vinegar. I also, oh, you know, someone asked me the other day, because I had blocked something for a friend, and when she gave it to me, she said, this is very soft, I don't think I'm going to like it. And I ended up blocking it with vinegar. It was blue. So Teresa, you can probably guess I'm talking about you. So it was bright blue, gorgeous blue, and I blocked it with vinegar, and I put unicorn fiber rinse and fiber soft. I don't know what it's called. It's by Unicorn, and it's like a cream rinse type softener. And I always add a softener and vinegar to whatever I block because it really, the vinegar will help lock the color in, and the softener will just kind of make it a little bit softer. So her yarn came out a lot softer than it went in, but right now it smells pickled. And I actually, the other day I had this and the shawl, I blocked them at the same time. I had them setting on a sweatshirt after they dried, And I went to physical therapy and I was doing something. I was like, I got this waft of vinegar. And I just kind of went, oh. And my PT was like, what is wrong with you? And I said, I had vinegar clothing sitting on this. So if I stink, it's vinegar. So yeah. I actually, this is not a brand new finished object, but I had it out, and I don't think I ever showed it. But my Campside, which is massive. So I pulled this out the other day, and I was kind of walking around the house with this sucker on, which got me, yeah. Okay, it's larger than my wingspan, but that's not saying much because I'm only 5 foot tall. But I had this out to show a friend, and this is an excellent project for fall and winter wear because it is so big. And it was passed around knitting group, so people could try it on, which was nice to see it on all different type of bodies for me, because when I knit something and I say, wow, that thing is huge, it's nice to see different bodies, so I can, if anybody ever asks me, you know, do you have a recommendation for a shawl that's, you know, bigger? This is, right now, it's kind of a nice size for multiple people. This I used City Tweed, and it's kind of like a steel blue. And again, this is Knit Picks City Tweed, which is a merino alpaca. This was the other piece that I knit and I put around my neck, and I didn't like it. But it's incredibly soft, which caught me off guard because, like, when I hold it in my hands, it feels amazing. And I thought it would make a phenomenal shawl to kind of wrap around and be warm under like a down jacket. Yeah, see, it's like so, I feel like Ralphie from Christmas Story when I put this thing on. But what I do in the winter is I wear like a turtleneck sweater and wear like, you know, a down, like a thin down jacket, and I just kind of loop this under, and it's warm, but oh, my neck, it drives me nuts. But this is, I love this thing, even though it kills me. We have a love-hate relationship between the Campside and I. But it's, I think it's Alicia Plummer who wrote that. I'm going to quickly check. I'm not on Facebook or anything. I'm just trying to double check the publisher of that, or that designer of that beautiful pattern, which again was a really fun knit. I enjoyed that a lot. Let's see. Yep, Alicia Plummer. Got it. And it's a free pattern, so, and it's from Pom Pom Quarterly, but you can still get it. So I enjoyed that. Works in progress. I am kind of slacking in that arena. I had both the Campside and the Pure Joy on the needles at the same time, and I finished them both off pretty quickly in succession, and then I just have a pair of socks on the needle. It's so boring. But I have, I'm winding the balls, so I don't have crazy ball management going on. Oh, good Lord. Okay, so these are vanilla latte socks. There's quite a bit of stelina in this yarn. This is Progress Keeper from Sucre Miniatures. It's a taco. This just delineates the front of my sock. So these are being knit on size 2.25 millimeter. These are my Chalgu DPNs. This is my yarn. It is White Birch Fiber Arts, and colorway is, does this rainbow make my black look big? No, it doesn't. You look fine. It is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stelina, 400 yarn, or 400 yards, 100 grams in fingering. I have 2 going at the same time, which is usually my preferred method. I like to knit my socks assembly line style. Some people do 2 at a time on a magic loop single needle. I do mine 2 at a time on DPNs. So this is the taco sock. Is knit all the way to where I will put my heel flap, and I'm actually going to do a heel flap. I hate heel flaps, but I'm going to try it because I hate it, and I like to do things I hate. I like to work outside my comfort zone. I tend to like to push my comfort zone in a lot of areas, so doing it with my socks. And this is the progress I have on sock number 2, the ding dong. I think, are these ding, no, it's a cupcake. I don't eat Hostess. I used to love it, but it's a cupcake with cream filling by Super Miniatures. And it, not only does it help me delineate the front and the back, left and right. If I use 2 different progress keepers, I can say, well, I did this on this sock, and now I need to do it on the cupcake. So this sock is on, obviously, a 2.25 millimeter size 1 DPN as well, because we don't want 2 different size socks. And these are my signature stilettos, favorite sock DPNs ever. So yeah, this one is, I don't know, I probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, yeah, so I'm not far away from a heel flap on this one too. So I'm just going to let the taco hang out for a while until I get to the heel flap on the cupcake, and do the heel flaps on both consecutively. And then move along to the foot and then the toe. This, I gave the name of the pattern, but I didn't give the designer. And this one is Virginia Ross. Virginia Rose Jeans. And Vanilla Latte Socks is the pattern. I'm not going to show any. It's free, so I'm not. And this is, oops, the finished pattern. So that's kind of boring. I feel like I haven't done anything. I did do, I'm looking, the mail guy just walked down the street. I did make a baby hat for a gift, which I didn't show. The baby sweater I knit for my son's speech therapist. She brought her baby into clinic last week, and I got to see the baby, which I've seen a few times. I just happened to be at clinic when she's come in with little Ruby Rose, and this past time she brought her and she was wearing the sweater, and it was so nice to see the sweater being used, and she said it's her favorite. Actually, she uses it all the time. They live in the mountains, and so it gets cool. Even in the summer, it gets really cool at night there, and in the mornings, because they're closer to the beach, and that's where the fog kind of comes over into our area. So that was really fun to see a knit in use on a sweet baby. So yeah, that's all my knitting. Now I have some things I bought. When I was in Squaw, I took a trip to 2 stores. One of them was a little shop called Atelier in Truckee, which was not a yarn store. It was a maker store, which was incredible. They had a little bit of everything. I've never been in a store like that, and it was gorgeous. They had some yarn, not a ton of yarn, but what they had was really nice. They had paper crafting, they had painting, all kind typesetting, just a lot of incredible stuff, and it's nice because it's not like there's a ton of shops in Tahoe. It's not like you run to Target or anything. Truckee is a really fun kind of a gold rush, like downtown Truckee's a little bit of a gold rush kind of feel to it, but there's little boutique shops, and it's right along the Truckee River, the downtown area. I think they called it Old Truckee. But they had this shop, and I went in, and I really wanted something local. So what I ended up getting was this bag, and let me put it in here. So it's like a little knot bag. I have all my pins. I'll show you in a minute. But this bag is it's like a canvas bag, and it's by KCD Sibley, and it's made in Nevada. I wanted something that was kind of local as a souvenir, and my son got chocolate on it. So I'm going to turn it around. You might see a little. I have to, yeah, can you see that? Yeah, that little bit right there is chocolate. But it has these bags, or these bags, it has these pockets in here. It's a fantastic wax canvas bag. Like a bucket, so I actually am taking this to Knit Group quite a bit because it stands up. I can put it on the floor, which I often do because knit gatherings have gotten quite large, which is amazing. But so I take this, I just shove everything in, take it, and put it on the floor. It's a nice little basket. I put pins on it. Okay, if you're a Fish fan, this one, Fish the band, not Fish to eat. This little Homer Simpson with Fishman's Donut dress. If you don't know Fish, the drummer has worn a muumuu, not a dress. It's a muumuu, and he's worn it for years. There's been incarnations of the muumuu. There was a Bernie Sanders muumuu, had his little head all over it. There was a tornado, or not a, no, a Sandy hurricane muumuu. They raised money to give to the Hurricane Superstorm Sandy victims. A green crew, which is goes way back in fishtory, and it's a crew that comes in and cleans up after fish shows. And years past, if you wanted to go to a fish show and you couldn't afford it, you could be on the green crew, and that meant you got a pass to go to the show, but afterwards you agreed to work to clean up after it, which is a lot of fun. I have never done that because I got into fish a little bit after that. Despondent Dye Works, I have a kind of an obsession with her yarns, but she took these to Black Sheep and Wool Gathering, and so she had some available after Gathering, and I bought one because I love her stuff. This. I saw this pin. It's a little mushroom eating people. It just made me laugh. I thought it was the funniest thing. So yeah, Amanda Oh, I'm sorry, KCD Sibley. So I love her stuff. It's gorgeous. Um, Trying to think. I didn't buy anything else at Atelier. It was really just at that point I was still on 2 crutches. 1 crutch. 2 crutch. I don't know. I was still immobile. And so I didn't want to do a ton of things to agitate my knee. And so I really just went into that one shop in Truckee because I had driven that day and I was waiting for the housekeepers to clean up the place I was staying. So I ran into Truckee and just parked right in front of the store, looked around like for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then found that bag, which I loved, and then that was it for the day. The following day I drove into Reno to go to Jimmy Bean's, which I love. I didn't, I found a few things that, these were in the sale bin. God, this color sucks today. But it's not showing up at all. Well, there we go. Yeah. These two are Anzula Cloud, and they're a light fingering MCN, so merino, cashmere, nylon. They were in the sale bin. And there's quite a bit of yardage, 575 yards each. So 1,150 yards total. And I got these to go together. I'm thinking a shawl with both of them. It's like a kind of a steely blue with some gray. And this one's like a kind of a coconut brown. They look really nice together. I was happy to see them because I love Anzula, but I was happier that they were on sale. And they go well together. And I have dog hair all over it. So I got these two, and then I bought 2 other things there. I wanted to try, well, 3 other things. I wanted to try these needles. They are Knitter's Pride Royale. They're a wooden DPN with a metal tip. I really love tools, and needles in particular. Needles are my thing. So I wanted to try that. I'm going to, I don't want to switch from metal to wood in the middle of a pair of socks because my gauge changes between the 2 materials. So I will wait until my next pair of socks gets cast on and use wood. I have another set of needles I'll probably use in conjunction because, like I said, I do 2 socks at a time. So I'll probably use my carbons with these because they have a very similar feel. The carbons are, they change my gauge slightly from metal because they're more grabby. So we'll see how that goes. I also picked up some Bri-spun cable needles. I have a ton of cable needles, but you can never have too many. And these were really pretty, and yeah. I don't have any in this shape. That was the other reason, was I like to try different shapes. So yeah. This, if I weren't standing at the counter with this in my hand, I would, and known how much it was prior to that, I would not have bought it. But by the time I got to the counter, I fell in love. It is handmade in yarns. It's 70% silk, 30% sea cell, Swiss mountain silk, hand-dyed in Canada, one of a kind. It's 437 yards, 100 grams. It is the softest yarn ever. I don't think I will be mixing this yarn with anything, because I'm not buying a second skein of this ever. But it's, and I don't have anything like this in my stash. Just, I mean, you can see it's like really, it's going to grow. I can feel, because it's really kind of silky, and it's not, like when you look at something like this, it just kind of holds its shape. This one is, yeah, it's going to be really drapey. And I'm thinking a shawl of some sort. I just don't know which one. I have a thing for gray and natural colors. And this really, it's like the light bounces on this. You can see it a little bit. It just really kind of reflects off there. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to it. There were some other colors that were vibrant, but gray. I like gray. And the last thing I bought from there was, this was actually on a table when I walked in. It's by Chicken Boots. And I have a bag by You So and So with this character. I want to say it's Queen Elizabeth. I don't know. It's very Elizabethan-ish. And on my bag, there's actually a collar that goes around here. When I walked into the shop, I saw these. They had a huge display of chicken boots as you first walked into Jimmy Bean's, and there were a few of these, and the face was like kind of offset and not very well lined up. It's not centered on this one, but what I did was I dug through their whole display, and I made a little bit of a mess, and I cleaned it up. But I wanted one that showed the whole face to go with my bag. It's a different color. I have a pink background, so her face on my bag is a different color, but I like this, and I can throw it in with my You So and So bag. This is the front. So a lot of fun. Very cute stuff. So that's all I got at Jimmy Bean's. And those have been sitting there. I had, after my first surgery, I had a little bit of a spending binge, and my husband, like, don't ever shop on pain meds, and don't ever watch podcasts and have your phone out on pain meds. So I actually had a spending spree that my husband joked about after my last surgery. Going into the surgery, like the day of and the day before, he said, "Hey, no shopping." He goes, "Remember last time what happened?" And I kind of laughed. And he said, "Just wait a few days. Like, don't make any purchases the first couple days, and then if you're lucid after that, whatever, but don't go shopping while on pain meds." So I did not. But a couple of these things are older. Remember, it's been a while since we've been together, so I did buy a few things in the interim. I bought this bag from, it's a collaboration. The inside has like a oilcloth, and it's by Dana Herbert, and it's from Oregon. It was a collaboration between Dana Herbert, Despondent Dyes, and Sucra for National Donut Day, so it's clearly been a while because it's not Donut Day now. And this is the yarn that came with it from Despondent Dyes, and this is Picking Sprinkles Out of My Cleavage. Yeah. And it's got like mostly purple, but natural, and then there's like little pops of sprinkles that fall in your cleavage while you're knitting, magically picking them out. So that's fun. And it came with this progress keeper somewhere. It's a donut, like a sprinkly, sparkly donut. And it has glitter on it. So I have this weird, it's not a phobia, but it's a strong dislike of glitter. I don't know if I mentioned this. Glitter gets everywhere, and I don't like it touching me. And so when this donut progress keeper showed up, I was a little wary that the glitter would not stay on it, but it's part of the finish. It hasn't come off at all. I haven't seen it anywhere, so we're good. No panic attacks. Yeah, my kids know. Please don't buy me cards with glitter. Mom panics. I have just three more things. Two more things. Okay, so I signed up for a mini swap months ago, stitching the high notes. Opera Jo, she's local to me, and she is up like Berkeley area, and I'm down in the Fremont area, so really we're just like, I don't know, 20 miles apart. So, hey Jo. But she had a mini swap, and I signed up a couple months ago by Yarn Enabler, and all these minis showed up the other day. It was funny, they showed up and I opened the package and I was like, when the hell did I order this? And I actually thought initially it was something I ordered after surgery, and it wasn't. I was in the clear. It's already been paid for, so don't worry, honey. He wasn't home when I opened this, but the kids are like, what did you order? And I'm like, I don't even know. I don't remember ordering this. And we kind of started laughing, and then when I saw it was Yarn Enabler, I felt a sigh of relief that I did not shop when I had said I would not. The last thing that showed up was by Cozy Knitter. I knit with, I made a pair of vanilla socks last time I showed them, and they were quite fun to knit. I loved her yarn. She had another update, and I bought Stormy Water, which is all kinds of grays and like just a smidge of a dusty blue. And so these will be some sort of vanilla sock variation. Maybe a vanilla latte? I don't know. But I found that her yarn, it's got a little bit of a toothiness to it. Not too much. It's not the ultimate soft yarn, but it is very squishy, and it holds up quite nice. And it was really nice to knit with. I loved the it almost felt like it had a bounciness to the sock. So I was very excited about that. When she had the update, I got that. The last thing I did was sign up for my very first fiber share, which I've never done before, and I've always missed the deadline, and I've always wanted to do it. So I did. And I'm so excited. The matches have come out. I have been stalking my fiber share buddy on Instagram. She's not on Ravelry so much, but it's nice because I can get an idea of what she likes. And for those of you who have never done fiber share or who have not heard of it, it's a swap. It's a large swap. I think this year they had 2,600 or 2,700 people sign up. And it's not just knitting, it's any sort of fiber craft. So knitting, crocheting, spinning, dyeing, weaving, eagle looms, which fall under weaving, all kinds of fibery goodness. So I signed up, and they have like swag to buy. So going back, so you agree to send at least 200 grams of fiber in various forms, depending on your match, to your buddy. And so a lot of times people will send their 200 grams in whatever format their buddy is interested in. So if you have a spinner, you might just send fiber, or a hand spun, or if you have, I don't know, if you have someone who dyes, maybe you send like dye and fiber to them. But you can mix in other little goodies. Often people will put in, you know, like chocolates or teas or things that will go along with their fiber. So I bought a little card to include with my package from Fiber Share's Etsy shop. I bought a Howdy Partner button, and I got a little sticker, which actually is for me. I'm going to put it on my water bottle. And then I bought a thank you card to send to the person who I'm paired with that will send something to me. You don't send, the person you're paired with is not a reciprocal share. So you send to somebody else, and somebody else not related with that one relationship sends to you, which is a lot of fun. So that'll be good fun. I'm excited. And then a button, share the love. Yeah, it came in this little pouch, Fiber Share. So I'm very excited to start my swap. I have some ideas. Oh, and you also send out, when you sign up, they ask you to fill out a questionnaire. So you're not just sending blindly. You have an idea of what this person enjoys, and what they like, color schemes, types of yarns they enjoy or cannot knit with, if there's allergies. So yeah, I am so excited to join into Fiber Share this go round. I've always missed the signups. So if you friend them or follow them on, I guess Instagram you follow, you don't friend. Follow them on Instagram, and they'll post announcements as for signups. I don't know how often it happens per year. I know it's more than once a year, but I don't know how often. So yeah, it's kind of fun. And if you go on their Instagram page, I don't use Instagram a whole lot. I mean, I use it. Clearly, some of you follow me on there. But I'm not as familiar with it, so the terminology, like I'll use Facebook terminology, but I think it's their Instagram page. I don't know. But if you look on their page, you'll see different packages that people have sent out, and it's kind of fun to look for inspiration. Even if you don't do Fiber Share, then if you join other swaps, then there's some nice inspiration, and they're beautiful pictures. So it's kind of fun to see what people are getting before they get it, or maybe they've already received it. I don't know. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with my swap partner. I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. So that's it for my piggery. Keep in mind that was over a few months period. So I've actually done pretty well. I didn't buy anything. No, I didn't buy much. I've never done a Yarn of the Month club, but I did just join Row 1, which is a mini Yarn of the Month club. So I have the first one coming. Yeah, and a advent calendar. That's it. Promise. So that's it. I don't have any more yarny stuff to talk about. Usually at this point, oh, so the last two things. I usually do a tip and I give an update. My tip this time, is not knitting related. And if I'm going to give a disclaimer up front. It's a little bit political this time. I tend to not, I want to keep this as a generally politically free forum, but I feel it's important to talk about because one of my children is mixed race, my older son, and I was absolutely devastated over Charlottesville, especially as the mother of a child who is mixed race. And I was appalled by the lack of denouncement from our government and our leadership. I live in the Bay Area. Protesting is this is ground zero for protesting. Berkeley, not far away. My husband has been in many protests. I've always had this rule with my friends. If you're going to protest, I will happily bail you out, as long as I don't hear your writing, and I will not bail you out for that. But I will absolutely always support people sticking up for their rights and help them out and be there. Whether I, was at that protest or agreed with your sign, it doesn't matter. As long as it is not a hateful filled protest. If it's protesting for people's rights, absolutely, I will always be there for you. My tip is be good to each other. We are kind of living in a time where in my lifetime, this is unprecedented in this country for it being so volatile. But be nice to each other. It doesn't matter what your political views are. I don't agree with all my friends or family. But treat each other kindly. Treat each other respectfully. If, don't support racism or hate. Just love each other. Yeah. Or as I say to my husband, don't be an asshole. My husband was up protesting this weekend. I can't go for physical safety reasons at this point, which brings me to my blather about what's been going on. Some of you who have been here before know I had a transplant, a partial femur and cartilage transplant at the end of March. Someone graciously donated their organs and tissue post-mortem, and I was the recipient of part of their femur. And rehab was going not so amazing. And then things started to spiral quickly. And I ended up back on crutches. I ended up, my PT kicked me out of PT 3 sessions in a row. And then finally said, I'm not treating you until we figure out what this is. We need to get the surgeon in here. Brought the surgeon in. Actually, the surgeon came into PT. And so, I had my surgeon, a couple fellows, my PT, and I just kind of all looking at this dumpster fire. And did a scan. The scan looked pretty good. The transplant had healed, and it actually was almost all healed from what he could see, which was excellent. There was just a little area of bone that was still not quite healed, which is fine because I was only, at that point, 16 weeks. 16 weeks post-surgery when the surgeon finally looked at it again. Had my scan at 17 weeks. The day of 19 weeks, had to go back into surgery because my knee just got really bad. Couldn't put any weight on it. It was locking. It was just painful. So went back in, and it was covered in scar tissue. Tons of scar tissue. Luckily, my transplant, he didn't have to touch any of the cartilage, which was my biggest fear. I mean, that's what brought me into surgery the first time, was this massive tear. So he cleaned that up. Was shocked. I mean, he said, I rarely get patients with scar tissue, let alone this amount. He said it's just not common. My body tends to make scar tissue like it's its job, apparently. And I've always kind of said that, but I didn't think it would be, related to my knee. So went in, did that. So I was 19 weeks post first surgery, which was not rehabbing that well. I'd only been off of crutches a few weeks. And then back on them. So we're rehabbing on top of rehab. So I'm back on crutches, obviously, and I've been in PT since the morning after this surgery. Initially, they said I would be, my surgeon said, generally I like patients off of crutches within 4 days. I'm 3 weeks on crutches past that. I did get the okay to start weaning down to 1. And I am happy. The other complication is that I have something that occasionally happens post-surgically, or post-injury, post-trauma, and it's a nerve disorder. And so I have a consult coming up this month, or in September, with a specialist to figure out where we go from here. My muscles they're not rebounding, so I have a lot of atrophy on one side. So yeah, trying to keep my head in the game. It's been tough. We are going to, my husband and I and a few friends. Our friends share in our love for live music, and they also love the band Fish. So after my transplant, every year Fish does, it's not quite a festival, but a camping experience at Dick's Sporting Goods in Colorado. And this will be their 5th year, and my husband and I have never gone for various reasons. So this year we had talked about going, and then I got my call, and that was no longer a possibility. So tickets went on sale, and our friends got us tickets, booked a hotel, because I won't be able to camp. But they did this as an incentive for me to get better, which was really kind of touching. I didn't expect to go in for that second surgery, so I was really thinking I'd be okay by this time, because we've known about this for months. So my PT, I had to tell him, guess what, I'm flying 4 weeks after surgery, which we have to take special precautions. I'm having a scan the day before I get on the plane, and have to take I think they said aspirin, not blood thinners, but aspirin, to prevent blood clots, and have to wear my sexy compression socks on the flight. And they told me to wear them the first day I was there because I'll be a little bit altitude. But the PT had his say, and I will be doing this in a wheelchair. So the moment I enter the airport, he told me, you get to the airport, your butt's in a wheelchair, and you'll stay in it until you get back. So I'm thrilled to go. It's not how I wanted to. I'm used to dancing. I'm used to having mobility. So I am 22 weeks. Yeah, 22 weeks post-transplant. Yeah. I kind of took it hard. But everybody keeps saying, at least you're going. So that is true. At least I'm going. I'm happy to be doing something that resembles my old life. Music. I love music so much. Just not how I thought my first trip to Denver would go. Thought I'd be hiking, maybe doing some rock climbing, dancing if I went to see music. There'll be no dancing. It'll be just a little bit of this, sitting in a chair. But he didn't say no. So I'm thankful. I'm just having a hard time balancing my thankfulness with my desires. They're not jiving lately. But that's okay. It's short term. I hope. We'll see. But yeah. So we're going to take a break from the kids. They're going to stay here. They're not. We're going to leave on Friday and come back. So we're leaving like super early Friday morning. And then coming back super early on Monday. So it's just a extended Labor Day weekend. And let's see. I don't know that we have anything else planned. I'm looking for... I don't know if they have it, but I will find it if they do. I really love hiking. That's one of my almost like my meditative activities, just being amongst the trees. And so I haven't done any hiking. Obviously, it's kind of hard to do on crutches, but I haven't even wanted to go to the trees. For me, that's really healing. Part of it is because I'm mad that I can't like hike in the trees, and so my toddler temper tantrum has been, I don't even want to see him. Screw the trees. But I did go to Tahoe, and I drove in the trees a little bit. But my husband actually, I was having a little bit of a hard time a couple months ago, and he said, "Do you want to go to the trees?" I said, "No." He goes, "Do you want me to drive and you could just sit in the trees?" Like, you don't even have to get out of the car. And no, I don't want to see him. Screw the trees. So I want to find somewhere around Denver a place that is wheelchair accessible. We have locally we have Muir Woods, and they have the Boy Scouts built it years ago. There are these like wooden slat pathways through the bottom part near like the interpretive center. So wheelchairs and strollers and people in walkers or using walkers can access some basic hiking. So I've been looking for something like that in Denver. So if you know of anything, I'm all ears. Not missing the trees in Denver. And my husband actually we discussed going back when I'm mobile, so that I can go hike and, maybe see some music at Red Rocks. Oh, we're going to go to Red Rocks just to, I guess it's a park, but they have an amazing concert venue, and that's on my bucket list. We didn't plan very well, but Joe Russo, Almost Dead, which is incredible Grateful Dead cover band. I hate calling him a cover band because Joe Russo is so talented, as the entire band is, but they are playing at Red Rocks the day before we get there, and if we had just kind of slowed down a little bit, we would have looked to see who's playing there. But we're going to go and see the venue and just kind of like take a peek. So yeah, that's my update. The boys are back homeschooling in earnest. In fact, I hear them rustling about. So we're going to do some schoolwork. My oldest one is a senior this year. So he just had a college tour at UC San Diego with his dad and San Diego State. Those are 2 schools he's interested in. So let the crazy begin. He took his SATs last year and his ACTs, and he's going to go and did amazingly well on his ACTs. Did okay on his SATs. He's going to redo them just to boost that score a little bit. So we're starting the process. And then do some more college tours, probably with his dad. I don't know that I'm up for that. But, yeah, I'm hoping he chooses something a little closer to home than San Diego. That's like a 8+ hour car ride. We have a lot of really great schools closer. Like, you can live at home. No, I'm kidding. So he'll be looking at UC Davis, UC Berkeley. Those are all pretty close. His reach school is Stanford, which is like 20 minutes from here. And, yeah, let the crazy begin. My younger one is in 8th grade, and I still feel like he's my baby. So this year, yeah, just getting ready for high school, building up those skills, those study skills, and he's not happy about it. He's less schooly than his brother. He would love to build all day long, but you gotta learn algebra and geometry, so we're doing algebra this year, and hates it. Yeah. So, yeah. We just hanging out. I think that's it. So I will not be gone for as long this time. I'm feeling better. In a much better space. I'm feeling much better, relief-wise. And yeah, so I hope you guys are getting ready for fall, maybe doing your Christmas knitting or planning it. Hope you're enjoying this beautiful weather before we start to hunker down in the cold, in the shorter days. Hope you enjoyed the eclipse. We were not in totality, we were at 75%. And being by the coast, we were in socked-in weather, but we drove inland a bit and got to see that. So, yeah, take care of you. Be nice to each other. Keep knitting. Do something nice for people. You never know when they need it. Just those little things, like even holding a door. It doesn't matter. Just do something nice. One of the things that made my day yesterday was going into a bakery to pick up my son's birthday cake. And I can get doors. I figured out the method. But this man, I saw him get up and like rush to the door to open it. I thought, oh gosh, why does he need to run out? He ran up to help me, and he said, I saw this beautiful lady who looked like she needed some help. And I wanted to hug him because it was just, he was the sweetest older guy. The way he said it just felt in my heart. And all day it put a smile on my face that, just, it was just a kind thing to do. So you never know. Be nice to people. It'll make their day. But take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.